Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie Mullen, aka Final Cut Steph from RampantDesignTools.com, and today I'm here to show you how to create a title sequence using Rampant's Motion Graphics Essentials in Final Cut Pro 10. If you are not familiar with Rampant's Motion Graphics Essentials, check out the link in the description and then go check out how amazing these 4K elements are for yourself. And just how amazing are they? Well, you get 225 different types of MoGraph effects. There are motion graphic shapes, chamber effects, ink effects, paint strokes, paint splats, textures, and so much more. This is definitely the ultimate MoGraph starting kit. So a question I get a lot is, how do I use these in Final Cut? Is this a plugin? Do I need anything special to use these? Well, no, the MoGraph effects are not plugins. You do not need anything special to use them. We're going to import them just like any other video footage, and then you are good to go. So let's go ahead and start with the importing, and importing is super easy. Again, like I mentioned, we import these just like any other video footage. And we all know there's a couple different ways to import. You can choose whichever suits your needs. So you can come up here to File, go to Import this way, to Media, which will bring up a dialog box, or you can create a new event. I'm just going to call this MoGraph Essentials, say OK, and then I'm going to pull up my MoGraph Essentials in my Finder. I'm going to highlight them all. So if these weren't highlighted, I'm going to highlight all of them. And look, there are a lot. Chamber effects, ink, motion graphics 1, 2, paint 1, 2, paint strokes, texture toolkit, texture overlays. Shoo, there is a lot. So how do we import these? Select them all, drag them in, and drop them in, just like that. And for me, this is the easiest way to import. Again, this is just my preference. You can do it any way you want. I'm actually going to make these a little bit smaller so that, oops, not that one, so we can see them all. All right. Dragging and dropping is the easiest for me, but import however you like, whichever is easiest. There are some options with the dialog box that you may use for your importing. Perfect, whichever one. But it's super easy. Just drag them, drop them, you're done. All right, now that we have our effects in here, let's look at our footage. And we're going to add some footage to our timeline. So let's go ahead and click on our guy here. We're going to press the E key to add him to our primary storyline. And here he is walking around. Perfect. Now the first thing I want to do after I put my guy in my timeline is I need to find a still frame, right? Because this is the still frame we're going to transition to for the ink drawing. So I think when he finishes walking right about here, when he freezes, is a good place. So let's actually find that. Let's use the arrow keys and find the exact place that he stops walking, because he kind of moves around. So there he goes. There's his foot. 1, 2, froze. I like that right there. Okay. So that's going to be our freeze frame. How do we create a freeze frame? Well, once you have your frame and your playhead's on your frame, all you need to do is hold down Option and press the F key. Just like that. And that creates a still frame. So if we watch it from here, walk, 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 freeze. Okay. So walk, walk, walk. When it gets to that frame, it's going to freeze. Perfect. Now we don't need this extra stuff. So I'm just going to delete that right there. I'm going to pull out my freeze frame just a bit more, just so it's a little bit longer. And if we notice, this guy's walking really slow. So before I do anything, I kind of want to retime him. He's like, do, 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 really, really slow. All right, so let's press Command R. Let's retime this. Let's pull this in. Let's make him zoom down there to the edge of this mountain really fast. Let's watch him go. Fast, fast, fast. Bloop. All right, maybe that's a little too fast. Let's slow him down just a little bit. All right, here he goes. Boop, 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 boop. Freeze. Oh, that's perfect. All right, so far so good. Now we have our base for our effect. Now we need to create the ink drawing portion. I'm going to be creating this in Photoshop, but feel free to use whatever program or filter or whatever you like. You just need a drawing from your video. I like Photoshop, but again, use whichever you like. So before we get into Photoshop, we have to export a still frame. How do we do that? Well, it's really simple. So all I need to do is I can place my playhead anywhere here on my still frame. So I can place it here, here. It's all the same frame, right? So place it there. Then we're going to go up to our share menu, click on your share button, and you're going to click Save Current Frame. If you do not see Save Current Frame here, all you need to do is click on Add Destination. And this is going to bring up all of our exporting options. And right here, you'll see where it says Save Current Frame. So you're going to take that, you're going to drag it over, and you're going to add it to your destination list. I already have this here, so I'm going to actually delete this. That's fine. But if you don't have it there, add it there and you're good to go. Close this, and now you can go back to your Save menu, and there's going to be Save Current Frame. So we click Save Current Frame, and you're going to have some options here. There's a TIFF, PNG. We're just going to keep this as a JPEG. Just keep it simple. That works for me. Say Next, and then we need to save it somewhere. So let's go to our tutorial, And then let's just add this. We're going to call this still frame. Okay, so we're going to export that. It's going to pop up really fast. There we go. There's our frame. It's already added. I'm going to close that. So now all we have to do is bring our still frame into Photoshop. So let's go find it. Back to our Finder. Let's find there's our still frame. So I'm going to grab it. I'm going to drag it down to Photoshop and drop it in. Let's let Photoshop open. All right, here's our still frame. And I'm just going to just shrink that out just a bit. Now we're going to be using filters, and we're going to be using smart filters for this project. It's really easy. I'm going to kind of go fast on it, but I'm going to put all the steps in the description so you can follow along with the words if you'd like to do that. So really first things first is we have to change this object into a smart object. So I'm going to right click and click convert to smart object. That's first. The next thing we have to do is copy our layer. So to copy, I'm going to press Command J. And then I want to turn off the bottom layer, and we're going to only be working with this top layer at first. All right, let's start adding some filters. So let's go to our filter menu. The very first filter we're going to add is a Gaussian Blur. Throw that on there. I only have my radius at 1. It works perfectly, so click OK. Now let's add the next filter. Go to Filter. We're going to go to Blur, and we're going to go to Smart Blur. And on this one, I have my radius set to 3, and my threshold, I'm going to pull this down to about 10. Or I'm just going to type in 10. That's probably a lot easier. And then I want to make sure I set my quality from low to high, just like that. Okay, so my quality is low. I don't understand why it set this as default, but let's change that to high, 3 and 10, and click OK. It's going to take a few seconds. There we go. Our smart blur has been added. Now let's go ahead and add another filter to our image. So go up to Filter, and this time we're going to go to Other, and we're going to choose this filter called High Pass. And the high pass is going to allow us, if I move this around here, you're going to be able to see the details. So everything that you see that's dark is going to basically be a ink line. So you can play with your radius if you make it, so that's going to be crazy. I want it to be around, looks like about right there. That looks about right, because I want a little bit of the buildings, and I definitely want his outline, so that's perfect. So I'm going to say OK. Now the next filter we're going to do, we have to make sure one thing first before we do it. We need to make sure your default colors are set here in your palette. So you should have a white and a black color. That's the first thing. And then we're going to come to our filter, and we're going to be adding a filter from our filter gallery. I'm going to click on Filter Gallery, and mine is already set to notepaper because I've done this tutorial a few times already. But most likely it's going to be on this relief here. So just click on notepaper. And the next thing I want you to know is your grain and your relief might be up a little. If your image looks like this, like it's kind of like your ink is sitting on sand, right? We want to get rid of that. So let's get rid of the sand. So no grain, no relief, and I have my image balance at 25. Okay, that's perfect. I'm going to say OK. Now if I zoom in here, you'll see here that the edges are really jagged. They're very pixelated, right? So we're going to fix that by adding another Gaussian blur. So I'm going to filter, say blur, I'm going to say Gaussian blur, and 1.0 is fine. Say OK. Now the only thing I want is this is kind of blurring the entire image, and I kind of don't want to do that. I kind of want to just blur sort of the in lines, right? We don't want the outlines to be blurred. They want to be sharp. So let's click on this little slider right here. If I double click that, it's going to bring up a dialog box, and I want to just change my mode from normal to multiply. And then you'll see here that it darkens everything, and just the inner layers are now blurred, which is what we want. Now we have to change the outline from gray to black. So how are we going to do that? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to hold down the Option key. I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to click on this little half-filled circle, and I want to select Levels. And it's going to bring up a dialog box. You can name it whatever you want. So I'm going to say black ink. And you want to make sure you click Use Previous Layer to create clipping mask. Make sure that's selected. Click OK. All right. That's going to bring up this other dialog box right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag the black slider, the dark slider here, all the way probably till it touches the histogram. You're going to see it change to get like an ink color. So you can make this wherever you want. You can make it really dark. That's like that's like marker almost. But ink is about, for me, is about right where the histogram starts. That's perfect. And I'm going to say close that because we don't need that any longer. And there we go. Now our image looks like an ink drawing. Pretty simple. We can go ahead and save this. Let's go ahead and Command-Shift-S. We're going to call this Still Frame Ink. Oops. Ink. I don't want this to be a Photoshop. Just make it simple. Let's make it a JPEG and save. Okay. That's perfect. Now you can stop here and use just the ink reveal, but I like to just do one more step to make the reveal look a little bit more interesting. And that's going to be using the color layer. It's going to give you a more detailed reveal. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change our ink layer. We're going to change it from normal to multiply. It's going to remove the white. And then we're going to turn on our bottom layer so you can actually see the color. And you can see the ink drawing around our colored image underneath. That's perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to double click on our color layer right here, and it's going to bring up this dialog box. And what we want to do is we want to drag this white slider right here all the way over until almost everything has disappeared. And I like to bring it to about right there. Okay, now you can stop here. That's kind of an interesting effect, but I like the effect to look more like watercolor. So that if I press Option and drag this right side of this triangle, I can fill in and make it a little softer. See that? So now the umbrella has this like really cool color. The ground has this really cool color. I love that. So you can play with this and get the color to look exactly like you like, but I love the watercolor look. So that's perfect. I'm going to say okay. And that's it. Now all we do is save it. So it's Command Shift S. Call this still frame color. Save it as a JPEG. Save that. Now let's jump back into Final Cut and import these new images that we just created. So let's Final Cut. Bring up my Finder. Oops, nope. Finder. There's my two still frames. Go back to Final Cut. And drag our still frames in here. And then what I want to do is I want to select my ink first. I want to bring this down. I recommend doing this for everything that you do, because sometimes you can move things in Photoshop. So I want to bring the ink down. I want to change the blend mode from normal to multiply, and I want to make sure my ink matches up with my drawing, because if just by accident, if you moved anything in Photoshop or your whatever program you're using, then you need to make sure it matches so it doesn't look weird when we do the reveal from the motion to the still. Everything matches up, so we're great. Let's do the magic ink paper reveal. So let me open up my MoGraph Essentials folder here, and I want to add the paper texture. And you're going to find all of our paper textures underneath this thing that says Texture Toolkit. If I click on that, you're going to see all of these textures pop up. And there are a bunch of different paper textures in here. There's like a manila one right here. There's a white one right here. Another white one. There's also some notebook paper, so you can get crazy. There's like some parchment paper down here. It's really cool. I'm going to use this one with all the wrinkles in it because I just think it's kind of interesting. So I want to select it. I'm going to bring it down here, and I want to pop up my ink. Okay, I want to put it right underneath there. Stretch it out just a bit. And I want to come over here to the inspector, and I want to show you something. Right now, these textures are huge. So right now it's being fit to our 1080 frame. If I choose none, look at that. That's how much details in this. You can see the paper like pulp, the paper, texture in there. So we don't quite want none. Let's just do fill. That's perfect. And when I fill that in, now you'll see that it looks like I have this ink drawing on our folded manila paper, right? So that's perfect. Now I want to use ink to reveal our ink drawing. So let's click on the ink in the MoGraph Essentials. And you'll see here that, well, this is weird. Why can't I see these? Well, the reason why you can't see these is the ink they're all black effects. So the ink is actually black, and they all come with alpha channels. So because Final Cut reads an alpha channel as a negative space or a black space, you've got a black effect on a black space, so you can't see it. So how do we preview these? Well, there's two options to preview these, and they're really easy to do. The first option, if I click back on my footage and I make a new project, so Command N, and I say ink clips, just like this, and I go back to my ink and I select them all. I can drag them all to my timeline. Let's just make these come out just a little bit. Well, I still can't see them. Well, that's because we're still black on black, right? So we have to get rid of that black negative space. Let's just make a generator. Let's grab a solid and let's bring it down here. And we're going to just sort of, I think I've too zoomed out. So let's do that. Let's just drag it all the way down. And now you'll see that you can see the black effect, the ink, on top of the white background. You can scroll through them. That's probably the fastest way to do it. You can also, another option you can do is you can go check out the Rampant Previewer app, download it, and then you can see all of the files inside your Rampant Previewer app. You can see this product and all the products that Rampant sells. So that's really nice too. Now, as I scrub through these, I like this, well, I like, let's find him. Where is he? I like this one the best. What number is this? This is number 11. All right, so this is probably my favorite. I love it. It looks great. So now we can go back to our ink and I can find number 11, which is right there. Go back to our regular project. Take my ink, drag it on top, and drop it in. Okay, and there's our ink. Now we ran out of space here, so I can make these for right now. Let's just extend these out so we can see the ink clip. Now all of these effects are 4K or larger in some cases with the texture toolkit. But so what I want to do, if I want to get this 4K size, I need to come over here to my spatial conform and change it from fill to none. I'm on the paper. Make sure you select the ink and change it from fit to none. There we go. So now our ink is nice and big. It's 4K size, which is what we want. So the next thing I want to show you is that this ink, if I play this through, it's really slow. It comes on really slow. We want to speed that up just a bit. So let's press Command R and retime this. I'm going to probably make it go pretty fast. So let's watch that. That's pretty good, right? So that's a pretty nice fast effect. I love that. It comes out. Now that we have that done, I'm going to press Command R to get rid of the retime. Now we have to cover the entire frame in ink because we want to reveal the paper below. So anything that doesn't have ink on it, it's not going to be the paper texture. So if we click on this transform box right here, you're going to be able to drag your ink around. So I want to make this ink so that it goes everywhere, right? So easiest way, let's press Option and drag up. That is the simplest way to make a copy. I'm going to zoom out on this just a little bit. And then all we're going to do is move these around. You can rotate them. And I like to cover the main image first because I want to make sure he's covered. So let's just copy and paste all these. And again, you can scale these up some if you want. I wouldn't recommend scaling them up too much because they're going to get kind of distorted, but feel free to play with the scale as you would like, depending on what your needs are. So I'm going to quickly go through these, keep optioning and dragging and making more and more clips and just rotating them so that the entire image is full of ink. And you can also, once you get all these on, you can reposition them. Like maybe you don't want them all to come on at the same time. Maybe you want them to be staggered, whatever it is, you can do all of that as well. But let me get all these on here first, right? All right, and there we go. It looks like all of our ink is covered, and if we rewind this, there we go. Everything's covered, and eventually by the time that it's finished, the entire paper is covered. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to group all of these. So I'm going to select all of the ink. So let's just go ahead and select all of these. And I want to right click and I want to make a compound clip. And I'm going to call these ink clips, right? That's going to make it a lot simpler to work with. So now we've got, if I scroll down here, we've got our ink, we've got our still frame, and we've got our paper. So let's go ahead and select all of those. Oh, before I do that, we need to change our ink clips blend mode. And because these come with an alpha channel, we're going to come up to blend mode and we're going to go down to stencil alpha. So now you should start with a full black screen and it's going to reveal the ink underneath, right? Just like that. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select all these now, all three of these clips, and we're going to create another compound clip. And we're going to call this ink reveal. Say okay. So now if I go back here he is walking, walking, walking. He freezes and we have the ink. That looks amazing. I love the way that looks. Perfect. Now you could stop here and this could be your ink drawing, but remember how we made that colored version of this, like the watercolor that we added? We can add that now as well. So let's go back to our footage. Let's find here's our image with the color in it. Let's drag that down and place it on top. We'll extend it out just a little bit. And we're going to do the same ink reveal on this, but here's what's really cool. We don't have to do all of that ink placement again. We already have done that. So I can double click on my ink reveal, click on my ink clips, press Command C, that's going to copy it, go back to my original thing, my original timeline, and press Command V to paste it on top. So now we have our ink clips and it's revealing our color layer underneath, right? So all we need to do now is make a compound clip. So select everything, right click, say new compound click. We're going to call this ink reveal color, say okay. And then all we need to do is remove that white from the image. So we go over to our blend mode, change it from normal to multiply. And there's our color version. So now if I rewind this and play that through, goes ink, and then it goes into the color. That looks beautiful. I love the way it looks. Now the next thing I want to do is I just want to shrink these back up to match my timing here, just like that. Just make it shorter, just like that. And I'm going to render this because I have my background rendering turned off. So I'm going to select everything and press Control R. That's going to let it render. And then through the movie magic, we'll speed this up and we'll get going on the title. Okay, everything's rendered. So let's go ahead and throw a title on here now. So let's play this through. Here's our guy walking and he freezes and bloop, bloop. Oh, that looks so awesome. Love it. All right, let's go ahead and throw a title on here. So let's go to our title tool. You can use any title that you like. Final Cut comes with a ton of them. I went ahead and created this really cool write-on title in motion. It's really easy. So I'm going to use that one. So I'm going to bring that down. I'm going to drag it in. I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit. I'm going to extend it out just a bit. And here's my title. So it's created by Final Cut Steph. And I want to come over to my title tools and I'm going to change the font from white to black. That's first. And then let's reposition this just a little bit and probably scale it down just a bit. Let's zoom in here. There, let's zoom in here so we can see what we're doing. Scale it just a little bit, probably rotate it just a little, just like that. Okay, so now we've got our title, comes in, created by Final Cut Steph. All right, I love that. Okay, so it looks awesome. That's the title part. So you can put any title that you want in there. Now I just like to add a little bit of sort of, just a little extra something. And I like to go to the paint splats. And the paint splats come with an alpha channel. So again, you're not going to be able to preview them because they're going to be black paint on a black background. So again, you can do the new project, look at all of them there that way, or go over to the Rampant Previewer app and check them out. It's there as well. I know I want to clip number 1, so I'm going to drag that down here and I'm going to drop it in. And you'll see that there's our paint splats. Now these are 4K paints, so let's go ahead and make them 4K size because that's really tiny. So let's go over here and let's just say none. Okay, and they're going to be huge. So let's move them over here so we can see them. We're going to scale them down and then we're going to rotate them so that we can get them in the perfect position. And I like them to be right about like that. And I'm going to drag them over just a little bit so it kind of looks like they come on, they're dripping as the text is being written on. Oh, that looks wonderful. So whoop, look at that. That looks awesome. All right. So let's shrink up this just a little bit. We don't need that to be that long. And let's leave that there. And then let's leave this there. There we go. Okay, so there's our title. All right, so let's rewind that and play that through. And there you go. Now you know how to create an ink reveal effect and you can do it all within Final Cut. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and speaking of tutorials, if you're looking for more FCPX tutorials, head on over to fcpxtips.net or check the links in the description of this video. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or tutorial requests, please leave them in the comments section below. Also, please make sure you click on that R logo in the lower right-hand corner and subscribe to our channel. You definitely do not want to miss all the training and content Rampant has to offer. And please make sure to like and share this video with your friends. Until next time, I'm Stephanie Mullen, aka Final Cut Steph from Rampant Design. Thanks for watching. Bye!